Hello, welcome to Doré and Vanessa's Horror Corner. Today we're going to be talking about Dario Argento's Three Mothers trilogy. So what was this trilogy? Well, you may have heard of the well-known 1977 horror film Suspiria, written and directed by Dario Argento. So that was the first one, and then 3 years later, 1980, we have Inferno. And then, wait for it, 2007, 27 years later, Mother of Tears. We have Mater Suspiriorum, Mater Tenebrarum, and Mater Lacrimarum.
Yes. Basically, they each have a home. One is in Rome, one is in New York, and one is in Germany. What part of Germany?
Freiburg,
Germany. And they're basically casting spells and trying to ruin the world.
Yeah, so this trilogy was based on a series of essays by Thomas de Quincey, who was an Italian writer, and the book of essays was called Suspiria de Profundis.
So I will talk a little bit about Dario Argento, since he's the director. Dario Argento was the creator of the Three Mothers trilogy. He was born in Rome in 1940. He's the son of Salvatore Argento, who's the famous Italian comedy film producer. So Argento was very inspired from a young age to fall in love with film. His inspirations for his work include Alfred Hitchcock, Walt Disney, and surrealist painter and writer Edgar Allan Poe. When interviewed about his style, Argento said, "I work in a surrealistic way, like being in a trance. When I finish a picture, I'm always surprised by the things I see. It's like automatic writing, as though someone else suggested ideas. Like a schizophrenic, as though I have a second soul." Argento's films are split into two categories: gialli, or crime thrillers, and films dedicated to horror and the supernatural. And Argento would go down in history as one of the forefathers of this giallo films, which are basically notorious for combining sex and violence. And everything sort of weaves together in a weak and often convoluted narrative, which frequently interrupts itself with scenes of startling violence and bloodshed, which we saw a lot.
There was a lot of startling violence and bloodshed.
Yes, and since 1970, Argento has directed 16 films, all of them having controversial and shocking themes such as bodily corruption and disfigurement, incest, gynophobia, necrophilia, torture, and unhealthy focus on taboos linked to sex and complex character development.
Okay, so I'm going to be telling you a little bit about what the story and lore and like all of the layers of this trilogy. The essays were about mythological sorrows. They weren't actually witches. That was Dario Argento's spin on it. And the first witch that I want to talk about is Mater Suspiriorum. So the essays say that she's the mother of sighs, and she like slowly creeps into people's lives. She walks with people who are betrayed and rejected. In the movies, she's the oldest sister out of the three witches. In the essays, she's the middle sister, and she has the power of invisibility and telekinesis. And so that's pretty interesting. And then the second movie, Inferno, is Mater Tenebrarum, and in the essays it says that she's the youngest and the coolest of the sisters. She's the mother of darkness and lunacy, and she doesn't creep timidly into people's lives. She brings 100% destruction. She comes in full force when she comes in, and it's pretty crazy, and we see that very much demonstrated throughout the film. I think it's really interesting how Dario Argento interpreted the sisters. For example, the essay says that Mater Suspiriorum creeps slowly, right? And we see this long movie. It's the main character kind of discovering things along the way, whereas with Mater Tenebrarum in Inferno, it's just 100% the entire movie. Intensity, murder, death, fire, everything. So Mater Tenebrarum is the youngest, and she doesn't act for a long time, and we can kind of see this through her living undercover as a nurse in the apartment building in which she resides in New York City. And when she does act, she just kills everybody. It's pretty crazy how the essay doesn't say that she walks with anybody, so she has no coven. Mater Suspiriorum walks with the betrayed and the rejected, so she has her coven of the teachers. And then lastly, Mater Lacrimarum walks with those who are sleepless, and she has the largest coven of them all. She has witches in her coven from all over the world, and they
come
cause,
in.
They cause quite the chaos. But yeah, Mater Lacrimorum is the mother of tears. She's the oldest and the most beautiful. She is called the Madonna. She's the leader. She's the climax. So it makes sense that she's the third mother to be featured in the movie. And she's seen as frantic and unpredictable. And so in the movie, she just causes this widespread wave of chaos with all of her witches, and the whole city goes crazy. She's in Rome, and everybody just starts killing each other, killing themselves, doing things that make no sense at all.
Throwing babies off of bridges.
What? Her residence was abandoned, and she worked from the catacombs. So the first residence was in Freiburg. It was a dance academy. The second was in New York City. It was a apartment building, and the third was abandoned. And these residences are attached to the witch. The line between the house and the witch, we're not sure where it stops, because when the witch gets defeated, so does the house, and when the house gets defeated, so does the witch. And so they commissioned this man, this architect, to build their houses, and these houses gave them more power, but it also gave them more vulnerability.
So I'm going to talk about some of the common themes that we see in this trilogy, which include intense scenes of rain. In all of the movies, there's just very intense rain, and we don't really know why. There are green eyes that sort of like peer out of dark holes in the walls or out of windows, and it really scares the main characters a lot. And whispers accompanying transition scenes, and also a girl named Sarah, who, she's different. In every movie, she's a different character. She's not the same Sarah, but there's always a Sarah, and she always dies. I believe Sarah to represent curiosity in all three films. Although the character dies, she tries her best to sort of like break through the red tape of the witches to bring peace to her community. And she's never the main protagonist, and she's consistently like aiding the main character's pursuit to unveil the witches and like their evil agendas. But in the third movie, Argento finally appoints the Sarah character to the lead protagonist, and that's when all three witches are finally dead. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about the musical scores in all three movies. So the musical score and soundtrack in Suspiria sort of foreshadow the eerie environment of the Giallo classic, which creates tension in the film even when there is nothing on screen that would indicate that the characters are really in danger, except for the music. So one example is, as the lead character Susie Bannion exits the airport, making her way to the dance school where the horrifying events of the film will take place, the sliding doors like open and close to reveal a wild like storm that's going on outside. And with every opening
Mother of Tears
slide of the doors, the tinkling music box chimes of the Suspiria theme, and it sort of begins to play, and with every close it stops. So I think this theme sort of makes the audience aware of this danger and death that's to come throughout the movie. And I would argue that the Inferno soundtrack is quite similar to that of Suspiria, up until the final scene that features cigarettes, ice, etc. And this song sort of adds to the destruction and burning of Mater Tenebrarum, and the Mother of Darkness, who's the youngest and most cruel of the three mothers. And many film critics would say that the Mother of Tears soundtrack was the best of all three films. It was composed and written by Claudio Simonetti, and the score features a classical style with Gothic influences present in many of the choruses, and incorporates electronic music and influences from Simonetti's earlier work on Argento films such as Suspiria.
And the Suspiria song is actually the song that's been playing in the background of this video the
whole
entire time. So
enjoy.
Hopefully you appreciate it. Yeah. Speaking of like immersing yourself in the film, how did we do that? How did we choose to go about that?
Well, we did it in a really creative way. Doré and I got very into these films, and we decided to actually take a tour of the places where Inferno
and Mother of Tears
was filmed. So I hope you enjoy.
This is the entrance to the library where Sarah gets dropped off in Inferno.
This is Sarah's apartment building from Inferno, where she met Carlo in the elevator and they both proceeded to get murdered in her apartment.
This is where the one and only Sarah from Mother of Tears worked, and the location of where Giselle died. We just went to a bridge and took pictures where a woman and mother of tears was possessed and threw her baby off of the bridge.
In Mother of Tears, Sarah goes to this train station and has a weird walking chase scene with like a bunch of witches, and she gets on a train. This was the church that was on fire in Mother of Tears to represent how much the witches were wreaking havoc on the city. They were so evil that even churches were being lit on fire.
So, Doré, did you like the trilogy?
At the end of the day, I don't know if I can say that I liked the films. Did you like the films?
No, I really didn't. They were very chaotic.
They weren't,
like I said,
they weren't giving.
They did not follow a very succinct storyline. There was no, climax.
They didn't fit together.
There was nothing going on.
There
that
was like
made
27
sense.
years between two of the movies.
Yeah.
They were all actually like a completely different vibe. Like Suspiria was super artsy, super visual, aesthetic.
Yes.
Inferno was just like death all the time.
It was
and
a
then
lot of
Mother of Tears was like a classic 2007 horror movie where everybody
trying to scare you.
just like is running around.
Yeah. Suspiria really wasn't scary, in my opinion.
Really?
I thought it was more just like mystery. Like you were uncovering
I think
mysteries.
I think the plot of Suspiria made the most sense to me. There was the most simplicity.
Yeah.
But I just don't think. It's really clear to me that Dario Argento was not planning on making this a trilogy when he first made Suspiria.
Why do you think that?
Because he didn't mention anything about the other witches at all. It could have been a standalone movie, and I think it was made to be a standalone movie. I think it was a movie about little Susie Bannion and her friend Sarah at the dance academy, killing this witch. And I think he was like, if this goes well for me, I could make another movie, but I'm not committing to anything.
Yes.
So
it's clear that he definitely read the essays, but I think he was just trying to make one very good film, and it did well.
Yeah.
So
it did really well, which is why he made Inferno 3 years later, because Suspiria was so wildly successful. And the things that people liked about Suspiria, the visuals and the simplicity and the music, he just changed all of those things.
It was iconic, and he ruined it because he added the 2 other movies.
Yeah. So now that we've watched the trilogy, what was your favorite death scene out of so many?
They're all pretty gory, but my favorite has to be when Giselle is strangled with her own intestines in Mother of Tears. What about you?
I would say when Sarah from Suspiria, the first Sarah, she's like standing up on this ledge and she like sees where she wants to go and she jumps into a pool of barbed wire and gets cut up all in it, and then she gets stabbed to death. Because first of all, Sarah was really annoying, and I was kind of ready for her to like get out of my face in that movie.
Yeah, that's
fair. Second of all, she saw the pool of barbed wire, and yet she still jumped, so that didn't really make sense.
Yeah.
But overall, I just want to say thank you, Vanessa, for watching these films with me. We've had a really good time. We've had a really great tour.
Thank you for watching these movies with me. And it's all thanks to Doré for the amazing little short film you're about to watch of us touring all of the places.
Actually, in the outline, they already watched it.
Oh.
Bye for now from Doré and Vanessa's Horror Corner.